Once upon a time, nestled in the heart of Paris, under the soft glow of the moonlight, there was a little mouse named Remy. He lived in a cozy little nook behind a grand kitchen where the delicious aromas of freshly baked bread, warm pastries, and savory stews filled the air. The kitchen was Remy's favorite place in the world, a place where he could explore all the wonders of food, just like the chefs who worked there. Remy wasn't like other mice. While most mice were content nibbling on crumbs from the bakery floor, Remy dreamed of grander things. He wanted to cook, to create the most wonderful dishes that would make people smile. But he knew that he was small, so small that even the most delicate spoon would feel like a mountain to him. One quiet evening, as the kitchen was closing and the chefs were finishing their work, Remy scurried across the marble floor, his tiny paws making barely a sound. He watched from behind the sugar jar, his wide eyes following the chefs as they prepared a grand feast. The soft flicker of candlelight danced in the air, casting shadows that seemed to move like playful whispers. As the chefs left, one of them accidentally dropped a small piece of bread on the floor. Remy, quick as ever, dashed forward and took the bread in his paws. It was warm and smelled of butter. He took a small bite, savoring the taste. It was more than just food. It was comfort. It was home. It was everything Remy had ever dreamed of. But then something extraordinary happened. The door to the kitchen creaked open and a tall, kind-eyed chef stepped inside. His name was Luc, and he had a heart full of love for the kitchen. He smiled as he looked down at Remy, his eyes sparkling. Remy froze for a moment, unsure of what to do, but Luc didn't shoo him away. Instead, he bent down to Remy's level and said softly, "Ah, a little mouse who loves food, just like me." Remy's whiskers twitched in surprise. Could it be? Could someone as big as Luc understand him? "You're welcome here," Luc continued, as if reading Remy's thoughts. "But you must promise me one thing. If you're going to be in my kitchen, you'll need to help me make something delicious. Can you do that?" Remy's heart swelled with joy. He had always wanted to cook, to create something special. This was his chance. And so, with a brave little squeak, he nodded. From that moment on, every evening when the kitchen was quiet and the city of Paris rested beneath the stars, Remy and Luc worked together. Luc taught him how to use the tiniest of utensils, and Remy learned how to chop, stir, and taste, finding his way through the world of flavors. They made everything from buttery croissants to delicate sauces, each dish a masterpiece of love and care. As the days passed, Remy's skills grew. He would climb the kitchen counters, his little paws working with great precision, creating tiny plates of food that were as beautiful as they were delicious. He was no longer just a little mouse in the corner of the kitchen. He was part of the magic that made the food come alive. But as much as Remy loved cooking, he also had another secret. He dreamed of something even greater. He wanted to open a little restaurant of his own, where he could serve the most delightful meals to all the people of Paris. And with each dish he prepared, he felt a little closer to that dream. Every night, after a long day of cooking and tasting, Remy would curl up in his little nook, the soft warmth of the kitchen wrapping around him like a cozy blanket. The faint sound of the distant city, the gentle hum of the ovens, and the soft rhythm of Luc's footsteps would lull him into a peaceful slumber, and in his dreams, he would see himself standing tall behind a grand counter, serving food to people who smiled and laughed. But that was a dream for another day. For now, Remy was content. He had found a home in the heart of Paris, a place where he belonged, where he could create magic with every meal. And as the stars twinkled above, Remy drifted off to sleep, knowing that tomorrow would be another day of delicious adventures. As the weeks passed, Remy grew more confident in the kitchen. He had learned the rhythms of the grand Parisian kitchen, the clatter of pots, the sizzle of butter in the pan, and the gentle hum of the oven. But there was one thing that always intrigued him more than anything else: the secret ingredient. Luc, the kind chef who had become Remy's friend, often spoke of it in hushed tones. "Ah," Luc would say with a knowing smile, "the secret ingredient is what makes every dish truly special. It's what you add with your heart." At first, Remy didn't understand. After all, he had seen Luc cook many times, and he had always used the finest ingredients: fresh herbs, ripe tomatoes, creamy butter, and aromatic spices. How could something so simple as love make the food taste any better? But as the days went on, Remy started to notice something. Whenever Luc added a little extra care to a dish, whether it was a carefully placed sprig of thyme or the way he folded the dough with patience, the food seemed to taste even better. It was as if the love Luc put into his cooking made everything bloom, turning even the simplest meal into something extraordinary. One evening, as the golden light of the setting sun filtered through the kitchen window, Remy found himself sitting on a high shelf watching Luc prepare a special dish. It was a delicate soup, simmering gently on the stove. Luc stirred it carefully, tasting a spoonful before nodding to himself in satisfaction. "Remy," Luc called softly, as if he sensed the little mouse's curiosity. "Would you like to try something?" Remy's whiskers twitched in excitement. "What is it?" he asked, his tiny voice barely more than a squeak. Luc chuckled and set a small bowl down in front of Remy. "This," he said, "is a soup made with the most delicate ingredients. But the secret, my little friend, is not just in what's in the pot. It's in how we cook it and the love we pour into it." Remy leaned in, sniffing the soup. The aroma was warm and comforting, full of soft hints of rosemary and thyme. He took a small taste. It was unlike anything he had ever experienced. Rich and velvety, with a depth of flavor that seemed to sing on his tongue. "This is wonderful," Remy exclaimed, his voice filled with awe. "But what's the secret?" Luc smiled gently and placed a hand on Remy's tiny head. "The secret is that we must always cook with joy in our hearts. Whether you're stirring a pot or folding dough, it's the love and care that make the food magical." Remy's eyes sparkled as he thought about this. Perhaps the true secret ingredient wasn't something you could touch or smell. It was something you could feel. It was the care you took, the attention you gave, and the love you put into everything you made. From that night on, Remy made sure to cook with love, even when he was making the smallest of snacks. He would hum little tunes while chopping carrots, and he would smile to himself as he stirred the soup, imagining the joy it would bring to those who tasted it. And as the days went by, Remy found that the food he created became even more delicious. It wasn't just the dishes from the grand kitchen anymore. He was creating his own little masterpieces, each one filled with warmth, care, and a sprinkle of joy. One afternoon, when the sun was shining bright and the kitchen was quiet, Luc turned to Remy with a thoughtful look. "You know, my little friend," he said, "I think you're ready for something special. You've learned so much, and I think it's time you try your hand at creating a dish of your own." Remy's heart skipped a beat. Could it be? Was he really ready? Luc smiled as if he could read Remy's mind. Don't worry, I'll be here to help, but I think you're ready to take the next step. Remy felt a little nervous, but he also felt a spark of excitement. This was it, the moment he had been waiting for. He had always dreamed of creating his own dishes, ones that would make people smile and feel the warmth of home. With a soft nod, Remy agreed. I'll do my best. Luke handed him a tiny polished knife and a small wooden cutting board. What will you make? He asked. Remy thought for a moment, his whiskers twitching with inspiration. I want to make something that reminds people of home, he said softly. Something warm and comforting, like a hug on a cold winter's night. Luke beamed. A perfect choice. Let's begin. And so, with tiny paws and a heart full of love, Remy began creating his very first dish. He carefully chopped vegetables, gently seasoned them, and stirred them with all the care and attention he had learned over the past weeks. With each ingredient, he thought of the people who would one day enjoy his food. He imagined them smiling, their hearts warmed by the love he had poured into every bite. As the dish came together, the kitchen filled with a comforting aroma, rich, warm, and full of promise. Luke watched with pride as Remy worked. You've done it, he said softly. You've created something truly special. Remy smiled, feeling a deep sense of happiness in his heart. For the first time, he knew that he was on the right path. Cooking was not just about the food. It was about the love you shared through it. And with that love, Remy was ready to create something even bigger than he had ever dreamed.